okay as long as you're in your room. Bear with me, you guys. My buttons aren't working correctly. All right, there we go. Help me. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it because you know when you're pushing on your screen and it's not doing what you're trying to tell it to do. So hello everybody, this is day 3 of our online workshop for mastering your intuition, your intuitive wisdom through self-discovery. I'm gonna tag some people just to say hey. My friend George is here with us today, so as I always say, if you hear snoring in the background, that is why. Almost done. Try to tag everyone. So if you're watching the replay and you see your tag, just know I'm thinking of you. Those of you, this is important to know, those of you on Facebook who don't see that you're tagged and you're like, why'd you leave me out? Or I wish I had gotten a reminder. The reason that you don't get a reminder is I am unable to tag you because of your settings. So if it's important to you for me to tag you, to remind you, just change your settings. Okay. Hi, Nancy. I'm just gonna let people come in. All right, so I think I'm gonna do what I did yesterday. Let me think of a story or something to talk about for a couple of minutes just while people are coming in, so I'm not, starting fresh off. About dreams. Let's talk about this because this is okay to listen to in the replay. First day of our homework was, I apologize. I know that I have reflection in my glasses, but I didn't put my contacts in today, and it is a thing and I can't stop it, so I apologize for that. So the first day of our time together, the homework was to start writing about your dreams. So have you been doing that? I have heard from a few people that they've been doing it, but they haven't really had a response yet. Don't be discouraged. Just keep going and keep going, because a lot of us aren't used to dreaming, or we might have a little bit of stage fright around, like, now you want it to happen, but it takes a little adjustment. It's like using a new muscle. So you have to kind of practice and practice, and then all of a sudden one morning you'll be like, wow, I did it. I dreamt about what I asked for, or I, received an inkling of information. And then once you do it once, and this is about anything we're doing together, once you do it once, you've done it. So what does that mean? That means you can do it again, because if you've done it once, you can always do it again. And it may not happen right away, but you just keep it up and keep it up. Okay, I'm going to do something, and I'm going to go over here to the air conditioner and turn it on. So you can hear my voice, so you know you're not all alone and I haven't disappeared. But for the next hour, I need to be comfortable to talk to you guys, so sorry about that. Okay, so I want to explain a little bit about the name of this workshop and the name of this beautiful project I'm working on and rolling out in the next couple of weeks. It's mastering your intuitive wisdom through self-discovery. And I chose that for a reason. And I just want to talk about that for a minute. We've talked about, yesterday we talked about our belief systems, what our old belief systems were, what our new belief systems were, and that impacts everything. You know, how we think about things, how we approach things. So as we delve into our personal work and kind of sift through what runs us, what triggers us, what makes us who we are, that's where we find what's in the way of finding things that we already have, right? The things that we already have. And the things that we already have are our intuitive gifts. So that's why I called it that. Because we need sometimes to go digging. Isis. I'm sorry, my George is causing problems today. So sometimes we need to kind of be like an archaeologist and dig deep in within our stuffs to figure out, like, where is it? How do I find it? Because I promise you it's there. But sometimes it's buried within all of our belief systems and what we think is possible and what we think isn't, right? So that's why I call it that. I have to have George removed. He's just at the door barking. Okay, so the topic of today is exactly how do we hear, feel, sense, smell, all the things that are possible when it's non-physical, when it's something you can't touch. I think that that's part of our belief system right there, right? One, maybe you haven't even thought about it, like all the possibilities of what we can do and what's hidden within us. And two, it's nothing you can touch. It's nothing most of us can't measure. Yes, science can measure some things around energy, but mostly it's a very personal experience. So how do we determine what's real and what we're imagining, right? We're back to the whole imagination thing. And how do we figure out all the different, like, subtle, they call it subtle energy, especially when you're working within someone else's energy. It's very subtle. So it's a new way of perceiving things. And that's what I want to talk about. A new way of perceiving things, a new way of sensing what you hear and what you feel and how you do that. We're going to go into the different ways of seeing, because when we're seeing, ever since we were little, how do we see? We see out of our eyeballs, right? So a lot of times when people are waiting to have an experience, they're waiting to have the experience with their eyeballs and to be able to see something. And that, I would never say it never happens, because it's definitely happened to me, and it happens to a lot of people, to be able to see things with their eyeballs, or especially seeing things out of the corner of your eye. So, you know, I'm sure you've had, someone here has had that experience that you catch something out of the corner of your eye, but then you turn your head to look at it and it's not there. So a lot of the perceiving of information is not a physical experience. It's not with your eyeballs. It's not hearing from the outside, but it's hearing from within. So to learn how to do this and to fine-tune what you already have, you have to kind of change your idea of how it works. So that's what I want to talk about today. So let's see. The one thing I did want to ask in regards to the beginning of, since you guys have arrived here a couple of days ago, and if you've been doing the work, listening to the videos, doing the homework, I've already heard from some people about maybe they felt a little bit of a change within themselves, or felt a different way of waking up in the morning, a little more expectant of things to happen, things like that. So I want to ask you, can you let me know if you felt anything or had any experiences since we've started working together, or is your mood any different? In that, when you start doing this work, when you start looking within yourself and changing your belief systems and really doing that introspection, it can affect your mood. It can affect your stuff. So you can feel really good. You can feel angry. You can feel sad. You can feel more love. You can feel all kinds of different things that this can trigger. So I would love to hear from you in comments. Are you having any change of feeling, any emotions, anything different? And if you are, and those of you who have worked with me know this, if you are having any problems or you have questions, please reach out and I will support you. Okay? So please reach out and ask your questions and explain what's going on, and I'd be happy to help you. Okay. So first thing I want to start with, as far as how do we hear and see and change our perception a little bit from a physical experience to a non-physical experience. The first thing, let's just think about all the different ways that it can happen. Whoever's here, if you want to say hello in comments, let me know where you're from. That would be amazing. Okay. Okay, so the different ways, what are they? You can hear, you can see, you can smell, you can feel, and that can mean a couple of different things. You can be touched, physically touched by spirit, or you can have a sensation within your body. When I do readings, if the person is maybe having a hard time with stomach problems, I can feel that, whether it's nausea or pain or whatever that may be. But the other kind of feeling that you might have is emotional. You might, all the range of emotions, sadness, happiness, anger, all of that. So there's different ways of feeling. What else? So the other ways of these sensations is, and this is where it gets very subtle, is a hit, and I'm just going to call it a hit and I'll explain why, versus receiving information in a normal way. So we as humans are programmed and taught and have learned that the way we receive information is usually one word at a time, right? Not from a book. If you think about it two ways, if you're looking in a book and you're looking at a picture, you're receiving a lot of information all at once. It's not in words, it's a way of thinking, right? But if you're receiving a hit, an information hit, as far as intuition goes, it can be like a picture, all kinds of information all at once, but it's like you downloaded a paragraph of a definition or of a description of what's going on. So that's why I call it a hit or a download. So that's one way that you can receive information, is all at once. And for me, I've learned over the years, sometimes it happens so fast. If I'm doing a reading for someone and I'm asking a question, whatever that question may be, all of a sudden, as soon as, it's not even after I ask the question, it's generally I'm asking the question and receiving the information at the same time. So I have to kind of pause for a second and allow myself to acknowledge I already have the information instead of sitting and waiting for the information to come to me. Does that make sense? So it's a whole different way of receiving information. Because here I am, I'm talking to you, I'm saying words, and you're very slowly receiving the information I'm giving you. But when you're working with intuition, it can be instant. It's just like as if you're downloading, a picture or video onto a computer. It just is like this, and then you have it. So I want to speak about that as far as the subtlety of how that happens, because it can happen so quickly that if you're not used to it and not aware of what's going on, you don't even know that it happened. And it's hard to explain, but sometimes I have to be careful because it's almost like, I don't know, it's like you receive the information and it comes so quickly that you have to kind of catch up. So you have to allow your brain to kind of catch up with, what's going on. I'm trying to see who's here. I can see people are here, but I can't see who's here. So if you're here, say hello so I can see who you are. Okay, so we talked about the subtlety of receiving a download of information and how quickly it happens, and sometimes you have to catch up, right? Okay, and so I want to talk a minute about those things I just talked about. All those things, the hearing, the seeing, the smelling, the feeling, the downloads, all of that. And what happens if you're very, very sensitive? A lot of you will talk about, being very empathic and being overwhelmed. Well, this is where it comes from, right? Do you need to take him outside, maybe? Is he just being bad? Or all right, we'll put him up here, maybe. If you're very sensitive, very empathic, and all of this stuff happens all at once, that's where the overwhelming sensation comes, right? So if you receive all of this all at once, you receive a download of information that tells you all about what's going on, and then you get a hit in the stomach because the person that you're asking about, or the person that you're even just in the room with, has stomach problems. And then at the same time you get a feeling of being sad or scared, and none of this stuff is yours, right? But you're feeling and sensing what the other person is going through and what their problems are. That's a very, very good explanation of why you feel overwhelmed. Because although all of this stuff isn't yours, you're having this experience with them. So maybe in a little bit later we'll talk about, I am going to spend a good segment of time on how do you set up yourself and protect yourself around all of this, an empathic overload of information. And I hope what I just said explains a little bit about why you would feel so overwhelmed. And if within you, your stuff isn't quite, healthy, and there's stuff going on with you, how this just adds, a really big bucket load of burden on your energy. And, the other thing that comes to my mind about that, we talk about energy vampires. I want to talk about that for a minute, because this is within that realm of, being empathic and feeling other people's stuff and feeling overwhelmed by it. There are definitely people, and whatever their intention is, it's always different for different people, but they are the people that are the takers, right? The people who exert their energy on the next person, and when you're sensitive, you can really feel that. So you're feeling their stuff, but you're also feeling the drain because they're taking your energy from you. And it's not that they do it on purpose. It's more, he's okay. It's more, that's their stuff, right? I'm getting a little off topic, but I think this is important. When we go throughout our day and we label people unintentionally, or we don't think we're doing any harm, but that person's a narcissist, that person's an energy vampire, that person is too sad to be around, or whatever the other person's energy is communicating to ours that makes us uncomfortable. And unfortunately or fortunately, we have in our society labeled a lot of behavior patterns. But the thing about all of that, if we're rising above and doing our personal work, you can see, although you don't want to hang out with this person if you're not comfortable and they're sapping what you have, or that's your feeling, you have to set your healthy boundaries. But I also think it's very important to understand that every single person who is acting in this way that may make you uncomfortable, they have a backstory too, and they have a reason of why they are the way they are. So just keeping in mind, this is what I've learned in my personal work, is set your boundaries, because we're all responsible for who and what we let into our energy. And because of our stories and because of our belief systems, sometimes we put ourselves in the situation with these other people, but we'll say, they're making me feel this way, and this way, because you are sensitive. Just remember, you have the power to set your boundaries and remove yourself from that situation. That's the best way. People will ask, how do I protect myself? That's the best way. Don't put yourself in that situation. And use your intuition and really tune into, is this healthy for me or is it not? And then you decide, where are my boundaries? And that's where the work is, because how much of us, we may say we want to create boundaries, but sometimes it's a really hard thing because we're lost in our history and what we've accepted in the past, or whatever that is. So that's how you, delving into your self-discovery, all of this all goes together, right? All right. So the next thing I want to do is talk about seeing with your eyeballs versus your internal vision. So if you I want you to just use your imagination for a second. And we're going to do a whole practice with this, but think about it for a second. In your past, when you've had experiences with either intuitive hits that you weren't expecting, or trying to practice seeing things, even in the past couple of days when we've used our imagination, what is the difference between seeing with your eyeballs and seeing your internal vision? Just take a couple of minutes and think of different circumstances. Even when we have our eyes closed, sometimes, until you've really kind of honed in on your intuitive abilities, you'll still try to see with your eyeballs. When your eyes are closed, try to see, a figure of someone or whoever you're trying to talk to. And it's not like that. For me anyways, and I think for most people. The seeing is coming from more inside your head, not your eyeballs. So when we're working together, when you're trying to hone in on using those abilities, just think about that. Kind of drop our whole belief system around, in order to see, we have to use our eyeballs. It's funny to think about, right? Because that's how we all grew up. How do you see? From your eyeballs. And if you can't see, this is another thing to think about. If your eyeballs don't work, then you're blind and you can't see. So that's a real solid belief system right there. And yes, of course, you cannot see physical things if your eyes aren't working, but there's a whole world of things that you can see, and you're not blind if your eyes are closed. Okay, so think about that. I think I've never really said that in that way, but it is a very, in order to create things in our life, we have to believe it's possible. Because if you think it's impossible, how do you create it? Because you're coming from a place of disbelief and lack. So if you can start to believe you can see things with your eyes closed, that's breaking through a lot of solid beliefs, right? All right. So we're going to do a little practice here. So it's Saturday afternoon. This live is really quiet. So all of you guys who come back, and I'm telling you, after I'm done with this live, we're going to go take a walk on the beach here too. I'm in North Carolina, and the sky is perfectly blue. It's about 70 degrees outside, and the beach is 10 minutes up the road. So that's my destination too. So when you guys come back and you're watching this live later, we're going to do a little bit of a guided imagery together. I'm going to practice the difference between real physical experience using our senses and then non-physical experience using our senses. Because if you practice the different sensations, you're creating that muscle of allowance when you're actually tuning in to, I'm gonna turn this up. You're actually tuning in to being able to understand how you can use your non-physical senses, because we're so used to using our physical senses. Because you know how you went to school, how many senses did you have? 5. And you know, if you lost any of these abilities, then you know, it was shut off. So let's really explore all of the different senses that you can actually access. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and allow yourself to really come into yourself. Kind of pull back from whatever may be around you, noise-wise, whatever sensory things that are around you. Just pull your energy back within yourself. And then just spend a moment. You can even put your hand over your chest, over your heart. Just ask your heart to kind of slow down. Feel the seat wherever you are, so you're bringing your energy down a little bit. Take a couple of more deep breaths. And then I'm going to lead you through some very simple, quick exercises to just experiment around your senses. So we're going to use an image of a Christmas tree. And with your eyes open or closed, I want you to imagine using your eyeballs to imagine a Christmas tree in front of you. So just spend a few minutes. You're looking through your eyeballs and you're imagining a Christmas tree. And you can decorate it any way you want, but I just want you to look at the details. If there's lights, what color it is it real? Is it fake? Is it twinkling? Just really take a good look at it through your eyeballs. And then I want you to let go of that imagery. I want you to close your eyes and really kind of feel a sensation in the middle of your mind. Not your eyeballs, but the middle of your mind. And then I want you to imagine the same Christmas tree. Hey, Peggy. We're doing I'm doing a little bit of guided imagery. I just started, and we're exploring different senses using physical and non-physical. So if you're hanging around, what we started with is we're thinking about using your eyeballs versus using your mind to see things. So the first imagery I suggested was imagining a Christmas tree in front of you, and you're using your eyeballs to look at that imagery. You can have your eyes open or closed, but you're focusing on using your eyeballs to see that Christmas tree. And then the next part is moving within your mind and imagining that Christmas tree using your mind, using your internal vision. Just check out the Christmas tree, what it looks like, all the different things. Are there lights? Do they twinkle? Is it real? Is it fake? All of that. So what I want you to do is taking those two things we just did, you're using your physical eyes and your imaginary eyes, your imagery on the inside of your mind, and I want you to kind of flip back and forth. Look at it through your eyeballs, and then look at it with your internal vision. And see if you can sense a difference. Sometimes it's even a sensation within your body or within your mind, and it may make you a little uncomfortable. Okay, then we're going to let go of that imagery. And what was the next one? We're going to listen. So a lot of times when you're using your intuition and you're asking questions, you want to hear something. You want to hear an answer, or you want to talk to someone that isn't here anymore, and you want to be able to hear them. So what we're going to do is imagine using your ears, your real physical ears, and I want you to imagine snapping your fingers. So you can even just snap your fingers and listen with your ears to the sound. That's using just your regular ears like we do. And then once you've done that, I want you to tune in again to the inside of your mind. You're using your imagination. And again, hear the snapping of the fingers, but don't snap your fingers. You're creating that noise and sensation within your mind. And sometimes when I'm doing it, it's almost like more of an echo within my mind instead of that sharp noise on the outside of my body. And then with that, do it again. Outside, inside, outside, inside, hearing that noise. You can use any noise you like. You know, maybe a stomping of your feet, or someone singing. And that's a really good example, right? If we're listening to music, you're listening with your ears. But how many times do we get a song stuck in your head? That's a really good example. Song stuck in your head drives you crazy. And just a side note to that, if you start hearing a song that you haven't actually heard lately, I always will go and listen to the song and listen to the words, because sometimes there's a message within that song from somebody. But that's a completely different way of hearing, right? You're hearing with your inside ears, or you're hearing with your eardrums the physical noise. So it's physical versus non-physical. Feeling a sensation. So this is very subtle, and it may take a little bit of practice. But if you, I want to use pinching because it's something you can easily do to yourself. If you just go to your arm and give yourself a pinch and feel what that feels like. This is on the outside of our body. You're touching your nerves, and you're creating a sensation on both ends, right? Your fingers and your skin, but you're creating a physical sensation. And then close your eyes for a second and imagine doing it without actually doing it. So you're just imagining, you can imagine someone else pinching you, or imagine pinching yourself. And I suggest going to a different area of your body, because that I can feel where I pinched, and I didn't pinch that hard, but it leaves that sensation on your nerves. So maybe go to the other side of your body and just imagine pinching or holding your arm. And the interesting thing, this is where the subtlety comes in, because hearing something or seeing something in your mind can be very blatant once you practice. But a physical sensation within your body, like a touching or a grabbing or a like nausea or something from somebody else, can be very subtle. So if you're in the process of learning how to help people like I do, like doing readings or helping someone in that way, it's very helpful to become very aware of the subtleties. Because if you're going to pinch yourself, you know you're touching you're touching your arm. But if you're being touched by spirit, or if you're having like subtle feelings of something going on in your body that's empathetic to someone else, it's very subtle. So it's really helpful to be able to learn, and this is a way that that's a way that you can realize what's yours and what's someone else's also, is to learn what it feels like to be energetically touched or have an energetic feeling versus something that's physical. And then that brings me to the next one, an actual feeling. And that one, that's hard to make a contrast. But what I do want to practice just for a minute is to be able to create those feelings, because how often do you feel great? And then you walk into a room, or you leave the house and you walk by someone, and all of a sudden everything feels terrible, and you're just heavy and tired or sad, or like, what the hell is going on? A minute ago I felt great, and now I feel bad. And that's learning the awareness of what's yours and what's not yours. So if you want to just take a moment and close your eyes for a second and create some feelings. How often do we do this? You have feelings, and they're in charge of you. But how cool is it to really have the empowerment to know that you can create feelings? And I'm going to say something about that after we do this practice. So let's just create a feeling. If you close your eyes and take a breath, and feel happy. You could use a memory that makes you happy, or your happy place, or just hanging out with your animal or your loved ones. But allow yourself to feel happy for a moment. Okay, and then let go of that, and let's just feel sad for a minute. So don't grab anything that's too heavy that you can't let go, but just feel a minute like, we could all feel sad at any moment if we choose to, right? There's plenty of things to access, but just feel sad for a second. And then let's feel love for a second. So you can even put your hands on your chest and think about your favorite thing, or think about how happy you are with yourself today. That's an amazing thing if you feel that way. And just feel love. All right, and one more. Let's feel angry. So again, don't grab anything too big that you can't let go, but just for a moment, feel that angry about something. And then the last thing I want you to do, and this, if you rely on this, if you're having any of these emotions that you can't get out of, angry, jealous, sad, do this, and I promise you, you will feel better. Close your eyes. Don't do it out loud. Do it just in your mind. So now we're shifting to a subtle energy, right? In your mind, laugh. Just laugh. Close your eyes and be like, ha, 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 on the inside. Just laugh and laugh. And then pay attention. I'm going to be quiet for a minute. Pay attention to how it feels. And it's almost like a effervescence that changes your energy. So anytime you're feeling bad, if you really get in contact with like the subtle ways that you switch your feelings or switch your energy, gets switched by someone else walking by or a room, where someone isn't happy, use that because you're in charge. So all of what we just did, all these practices with emotions and feeling them, what does that mean? If you can create a feeling, if you can create a sensation of emotion, then you can always remember that when you're having a bad day, because our bad days are determined around how we feel, right? Things happen all the time, and some days more things happen, some days less things happen. But on those tougher days, remind yourself, just like we just did, you can shift how you feel, and then that helps shift your perspective of what's going on. And it's interesting because I used to be very guilty of this. I liked being miserable, and no, it felt bad and I didn't want to be there, and it's not something that I wish to recreate. But because of our old program and our parts of us who have suffered different trauma and all of that, it feels familiar and comfortable to be in an unhappy state for some people. And that's definitely where I used to be. And instead of shifting your mood and shifting your perspective and finding your courage and your strength to change it, it can be really scary to shift out of that comfortable place, even though that comfortable place is a crappy place. So I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I would love to hear your stories and comments around that. So if you're watching the replay, chat it up, okay? Because this nice Saturday afternoon, everybody's out playing. So I want to hear how all of this went for you, how this experience of feeling things in the physical, feeling things in a more subtle, energetic way, how did it feel? Did it work? What was your experience? Hi, Lynx. It's my Lynx. He doesn't like being picked up. Okay. Let me see. I think that's almost going to do it today. So we're going to just do a couple of things. At the very end of this, I want to just spend a couple of quiet moments to encourage you together to explore a little bit on, like, without me telling you what to do, about using the physical sensations versus non-physical. So a lot of times when we're all done, you'll just get up and carry on with your day. So I'm going to encourage you to stay with me for a couple of minutes and just kind of play with that. And also, just to check in, it's so funny, when I get all done, I'm like, I'm going to make sure and have the homework all set up. And of course, I don't again today. So I'll post homework tonight. But the one thing that I want you to, if you feel like it, go back to last night's homework as far as the belief systems, make any comments or notes around what has changed or what kind of experience have you had with your emotions, or any like notable things around your shifted belief systems. Hi, Lynx. And the other thing is your dreams. Every day, keep it up. And if you have some gains or if you have some frustrations, please let me know. And we can either talk about ways that may help or just give you congratulations for having a win on your dreams. And then the other thing is tonight, Watch for an announcement. I'm going to be announcing my signature program, and that's what this is a slice of. So it's going to be a 12-week program of diving really deep around all the things that we're talking about, and so much more around the self-discovery, especially in order to access all your gifts that you just carry around. They're just waiting to be accessed and used. And it lets you bring your brilliance to the surface and be more of who you already are. All right, so, and just to let you know, tomorrow's class is going to be about scanning your body. So using your intuition to access information that's stored within your body. I use this all the time for myself and for my clients. And this is the tool, being able to access the information that's stored within your body, that will help you when you start to not feel well, when you have even chronic things that have been going on for a long time. You can learn how to figure out where to come from, what's the root of it, and how do I get rid of it, and how do I learn from it. That's the thing, because all of our discomfort, it's about learning, and it can be an amazing journey if you approach it that way. Hi, honey. Okay, so before we close for just a couple of minutes, I want to encourage you to close your eyes and practice just a little bit about the physical sensations using your senses versus subtle. So you can go back to what we've already done, like the Christmas tree and the touching of your skin, or you can just create something else, like yesterday when we were going to all the different places, the snowy places and the beach and the woods, you can use something like that, seeing it with your real eyes. And there's a lot of sensory around that, right? If you're in the woods, there's hearing and smelling and touching, and you can kind of go back and forth using your senses of subtle versus the actual, using your eyeballs and using your ears to hear things. So let's just close our eyes and go ahead and practice that for a moment. And this is a very important thing as we're working together. It's really awesome to have someone like me to talk you through everything and guide you and hold your hand, and piece by piece, I'm helping you and guiding you. But what I'm here for really is to give you the tools or a way to access your stuff, and then for you to be able to leave here without me and do it yourself, because that's why I'm here. And that's my whole job, is to empower you. I would prefer people to learn how to do this and then be able to do their own readings and be able to access their own information, and to be able to just move throughout their life and automatically, without thinking I'm going to look at this or I'm going to figure this out, but it just automatically comes. So there's like a understanding, like that download I was talking about. It comes before you're even asking for it. So your life is very streamlined and very, uninterrupted if you're constantly using your intuition for what's best for you. So on that note, I think I'm going to go. Peggy, if you're still here, thank you for hanging out. Do you have any comments or anything, any questions or anything like that? And while I'm waiting for that, I want to encourage everyone, while you're watching the replay, add your comments, ask your questions, share your experience, okay? All right. I'm going to check one more time to see if there's anybody I'm missing. All right. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and I will see you tomorrow. We're going to be a half an hour early, so 12:30 is the live tomorrow. And watch for the announcement tonight. Watch for the homework post. And I want to hear from you. So I'll be talking to you. Have a great weekend. Bye.